welcome back to part 2 of my tag bundle. If you haven't seen part 1, none of it's going to make sense, so you might want to watch that one first. But I'm making a whole family of tags, and I'm halfway through, so let's move on. So I'm taking another one of those medium-sized tags, and that bird is just from my stash. I've cut a bunch of birds and other shapes on mixed media paper on my Cricut, and that one I had just kind of splattered with a couple browns. Looks like wild honey and maybe gathered twigs. So I took one of my original ones and tags there that I cut, and I've added was that Uncharted Mariner? I didn't see. And crackling campfire and putting it around the edges to distress the edges. And then I'm going to do some splatters with the crackling campfire. As I said in the last one, I'm moving quickly here because it was like a 2-hour video, and so I sped things up, broke it in two just to get it all in. And I'm using some StazOn black ink to add a little bit of number stamp. I'm trying to give you the information on all these as I go because there's so much here, but use what you have. Don't feel like you need to go out and buy a bunch of stuff. Just use what you have. So that number stamp was from the Eccentric Stampers Anonymous. I'm adding a couple of ephemera that are from Tim Holtz. One's the Curator and numbers list or something like that. I use those a lot in this, especially the numbers. It's one of my favorites of the ephemera packs. And as in the last one, I don't know if I do this one right now or later, I'm doing both sides, but the back side's just having a simple something, nothing that takes a lot of work. And so I'm just taking a Sharpie pen and outlining the edge there. And this stamp I've had, oh gosh, I don't know how old it is, but it's got 4 different surfaces on that block. But it's very cumbersome, and I wish I had ones to replace it, but I use that a lot. And I've been mopping up different paints, different inks with the back of this tag, but there's still some blank areas, so I'm just taking a stencil from Tim Holtz and some crackling campfire and just making a simple design just so the backs aren't blank. I'm not spending a lot of time on the backs. So this one you will remember from the first half. I did the embossing of it and distress inking of the front. I've mopped up some ink on the back of this tag, and I'm just taking the stencil that I've cut on my Cricut and adding, what was this, Uncharted Mariner or Faded Blue Jeans? It looked like Faded Blue Jeans. And so now the back's simple. Yeah, that's right. I decided to, I'm not expert at writing in the script, but I've been practicing. So, and then I just do the edges, but simple things like that goes on the back. Nothing that takes a lot of time. So this little birdie here on the branch is just one from my stash. Like I said in the first half, or for the other bird, I cut them out of my Cricut, and I might have used it to mop up some ink, or maybe I just splattered some from what I had. So now it's being put to use. And so I'm taking a couple of the ephemera from Tim Holtz numbers line, and the little one's probably from the Curator line, and I'm just adding a little bit of ephemera. And who knows if that one's done yet or not. So this tag, I'm going to be using some purple. Like I said, I wanted to add purple as an extra color. And so I'm just going around the edges with seedless preserves. And now I've got stormy sky, just to kind of give it a bluish purple look, because that kind of matched my leaf stem. And that leaf stem I've had in my stash, and that was actually cut from a brushos page I made a while back, and I had this leaf stem left over, so I just held on to it for a time when it would come into use. And just before I did that, I did some splattering of water on it, because I can see the watermarks, and that's why I used the paper towel. That is a plastic butterfly that came in a pack I've had for years and years. It's not in its original container. I'm not sure if that might have been a Tim Holtz item. I'm not sure, but I've had it for probably 15 years. Just not sure where it came from. And adding a couple little stamps there. Those were probably from the eccentric stamp. I used mostly that stamp set for this whole tag. I did a couple things without it, but. And here I'm using my roto punch tool, and just to put a couple of holes on the side that you'll see when I'm going to do that in a minute. And this, just taking another Stampers Anonymous Tim Holtz stamp, and gathered twigs is what that brown is. I kept saying it's twig something. It's gathered twigs. And I just took some embroidery floss that kind of went with that purple and looped it through those two holes and tied a bow. Simple. So more of that gathered twig. That doesn't look like gathered twigs. I'm not sure what that is. And I just took one of the ephemera from the curator and stapled it to the side, and spritzed the back with crackling campfire. And again, I'm going to just use something to mop up the extra ink, and I'm applying it to the back of this tag. So remember this one. So I had these little circles of a stamp. I think that's from the curator line, and another one of those plastic butterflies. And so I just glued those on. Here I'm taking, well, I think this is the last big tag, and I'm just taking a piece of, I think this is from the entomology, just a small piece of it, and kind of maybe trying to imply that it's measuring the height of this plant I'm going to put on. And this plant I have had, I don't know, 15 years, and it's just been waiting to be used. So it's getting its use today, and I have no idea where it came from. Who knows? And then this looks like it might be, Mariner, Uncharted Mariner, yep. And then I'm dusting the edges. That's either walnut stain or gathered twigs. I think those are the two browns I used. And then I'm gonna have a little of it hanging off and glue the rest on to the tag. And then I got a couple pieces of ephemera that I'm going to add to the bottom. And I think a stamp. Yeah. And I think that stamp is from the eccentric line. So I want to do something simple on the back. And so I'm taking, I think this is gathered twig. And just doing a simple design. And then I think that's stormy sky. And adding some blue. So that the back is visually interesting, but yet it didn't take a lot of time to do it. Okay, so remember this guy? I cut the hand, and so I'm getting ready to punch a hole in the hand and then punch a hole in the card behind it, the tag. And then I'm just using one of those, oh, what are they called? You know how they split. It goes through and they split. I can't remember what it's called. And so it can actually be turned. And then I take the same stencil that I had before, and I'm just using seedless preserves to go through and give it a pattern on the back. Another one that's done, I'm putting off to the side. This one just needed something to go on the back. So another stencil. Kind of keep it to the same color wheel that's on the front. And here I'm just dusting the edges. And this piece you don't get to see being done because I somehow got my camera off, but it's coming up. I'll tell you which one it was. See on the right, I set to the side. The one underneath has got the butterfly. That one you didn't get to see me do. It's really just book paper and a butterfly from my stash. So you didn't miss a lot. And that little tiny one on the top, I just stapled a couple things to it. So I've kind of organized them by color. I start light and go dark, and then I'm just taking some twine and threading it through. I don't care about really the sizes, although I don't want to have all the large ones together. And once they're all through, I just tie a little knot and a bow just to kind of bundle them all together. And that's it. And I'll do a quick flip through here. I hope you enjoyed watching the whole process. I tried to do a lot of things, but doesn't mean if you're going to do it, you have to have all these things. Just use what you have. But I hope you had fun, and please subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and have a great day.